Hello everybody, welcome to Prairie Woods on this beautiful Earth Day. I'm Laura Weber. I'm here as the Associate Director and the Retreats Coordinator at Prairie Woods. I'm so honored to be with you all for this wonderful gathering toward a new way of being with plants. And with me today is my colleague, August Stolba. He's the Land Care and Holistic Ecology Coordinator at Prairie Woods. And together we work to steward our mission. So thanks everybody for coming today. We're on just the northwest side of Cedar Rapids in Hiawatha, Iowa, on 70 acres of beautiful woodland and prairie. And we are the home to an eco-spirituality center where people come to explore the nexus of spirituality and ecology. And to give you an idea of what we have been encountering over the last year, besides the pandemic, we also were hit on August 10th in 2020 with an earth-shattering derecho. A derecho is a straight-line wind. In our case, it was over 140 miles per hour. In that 1 hour, we lost the serenity, the beauty, the depth. This was truly a calamity for us. We have been healing through it, grieving our trees through a series of programs called Treasuring Our Trees, and that has helped our community to ritualize our grief. After the derecho hit, I wrote a poem called Not Our Trees, and I will be happy to share the second part of that with you now. We open our eyes to the home we hold dear, and the stench is of death. Not a sound, no chirp, hum, or chittering breath. Oh, help, not our trees. They are shattered and shredded, twisted and mangled, uprooted and fallen, everywhere. Mighty champions, honorable elders, life force for the weary, gentle giants of unwavering peace, solace for the burdened, hope for the desperate, breath for bedeviled and saints, home for our family, our wood-wide we, not our trees. So they come to cut, come to tear, to rip, to maim, to bore, to strip, to wedge and pull down, to fell and to pare, every last one. All the gentle elders we so revere, not our trees. And I sing a soft requiem, but no creature hears, because my soul has withered with the life of the trees. Unless my tears might water a sapling. August, I wonder if you just begin introducing yourself and talking a little bit about what you understand to be our relationship with the trees, our interdependence with the trees.
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that poem. I still just get sick to my stomach thinking of what I came home to. So when the derecho hit, I was taking a solo road trip out to the West Coast to visit some of my favorite trees in Washington State. And I was laying back in one of those beautiful trees when the derecho hit. And I saw a couple of posts on Snapchat and Facebook, and then everything went dark. And I quickly hurried home, realizing that there's no job I would rather have than teaching and learning about trees at Prairie Woods. It's finally spring, and I'm just so happy to be looking out at a bunch of young saplings standing next to towering oaks. And I was hoping you'd be willing to start by talking a little bit about the notion of the wider we and how we came to languaging as the foundation of this conversation on a new way of being with plants.
And so deep ecologists over the years have really made the case about relanguaging, about these beautiful creatures of light, creatures that are able to transform light and water and soil nutrients into energy and food and into being. And so now, instead of denigrating creation by calling it it. We tend to talk about creation as our kin, and especially our Arbor elders, as truly our wisdom figures. They're the longest living creatures in our biosphere, and it's for a reason. And to approach them with reverence and awe, to ask permission to not only be in their presence, but to learn, to grow from them, to be able to touch and taste and smell, to feel their warmth and their wisdom, to understand how connected they are is so critical to how we ourselves relate and interrelate. We have such difficulties among our human kin relating in ways that are healthful because we don't understand how interconnected we are. Whereas the trees, not only do they understand it, they depend on, they thrive on that. And so our languaging about the trees, I think, is growing. I think our consciousness is expanding, and I think we are growing into creatures who are learning how to change our ideas about how to speak of the trees, how the trees themselves communicate amongst themselves, and how we are learning new language forms. And I wonder, August, if you might talk to us a little bit about how you understand, through the work of Suzanne Simard and Voleben, Peter Voleben, and many others, about how trees truly do communicate among themselves.
Too often, illusion and personification and the dreaminess that allows innovation to come forth in science is stifled in science. And so for a long time, we didn't believe trees communicated because empirical science wasn't there yet. But what's so amazing is that there is empirical evidence that trees are choosing to exchange resources underground. So I think that's just a really great place to start, is that these trees are nurturing other trees and sharing and exchanging resources. And what really excites me is the mapping of these exchanges and what we're going to learn in terms of their society. Is it a society of competition and tribalism similar to our own? Or are they really living in a world of altruism, where it's all about greater ecological good, and it's not about greed, it's about exchange and resource distribution?
That this wood-wide we, this wider we, of which we are blessed to be a part, is really kind of the key to all of what ails us right now on the planet. That this sense of social Darwinism that we've promoted, talking about the survival of the fittest, really isn't what Darwin had in mind at all.
And so I think you can go out there and give your words of adoration to trees, and they may receive that. But acts of service are going to be what these trees really want, and that physical touch. They release pheromones that we inhale that give us positive benefits. And we need to think about, are we able to give that back? Are we going to trim that dead hang off that tree? Put a ring of nutrient-rich compost around the base of it. Bring it a little bit of water.
Yeah, thank you so much. The idea of what we give back to trees.
So I've been trying a little bit of method acting to help me along with that. So I'm going to share a poem that's kind of a follow-up to the poem that Laura shared. A slow-moving biped holding the most beautiful substance shuffles, then crouches, compressing my roots. The water delicately seeps into the ground around, not on, the small creature, and we both drink. A blanket of leaves keeps the moisture there and fungus active. My own old appendages poke into the roots all around it. Streams of rich goo and saline liquid pour down not far from the infant. They soak into the soil and I taste them. My roots won't let me take them for my own. This youngest of kin sprouted late with all of this disturbance and drought likely won't survive, but with all of the friends that fell last fall, I have found a new drive to get better at keeping others alive. It had nuzzled at my shallowest root tips, not finding water, but rather being gifted life through this solution. Just a few drops from a foreign creature, and now it's here. Cracked out of its shell, a tiny tendrilic taproot poking out as it digs down. 2 little leaves pop up, and it does not just dig to nuzzle, it digs to connect, to attach to my root hairs, and I cherish the opportunity to nourish it. But on these dry days, only divine liquid of compassion will keep the next generation alive.
Thank you for being here today and for this wonderful event, to Paul Moss and to all of the conference planners for putting this on. Thanks for having us, and we look forward to seeing you sometime at Prairie Woods.